Today we are talking about a very important and interesting topic: who sets the standard? And it's very interesting because a lot of people are following the crowd mentality and the crowd mindset. They are living their lives based off of assumptions and what people say or what people think. And this is why we are asking the question: who sets the standard? I believe there are a lot of us that have heard at some point people say things like, I want to be like Otedola, I want to be like Dangote, I want to be like Mark Zuckerberg, or basically any other prominent people in the world today. But the truth is, they can't, and they will never. Yes, I might sound as if I'm not wishing them well or sounding as the devil's advocate, but the truth is that these people that you want to be like, they have different experiences, they have different upbringing that shapes their personality, that made them who they are today. And when you try to contrast it, you see that your life is totally different from this person's experience. So tell me, how can you be like these people? It's no way. You cannot, and you will not. Let me put it that way. So the question to be asked is, what can I learn from this person's story? What can I learn from this person's journey of life? I think that is the more better question to ask. Not necessarily you wanting to be like Otedola, you wanting to be like Mark Zuckerberg or whosoever. When we pick out the lessons, our lives become better because we as human beings, we are individualistic, we are separate. Though we require human connection, we require people to communicate with, but we are separate, we are very different from what other people think or feel, right? So we are our own person, and this is why we need to believe that we must learn from other people's journey, but not aspire to be like them. Yes, it might sound very innocent to say these words, but when observed under microscopic lens, you see that these statements are not true. These things are not, they are not visible. So I'll go straight to the point and I'll tell you what to do, because I'll tell you what to do and I'll tell you how to go about it. Because a lot of people tell you just what to think. They tell you what to do. They don't tell you how to go about it or how to even think about those 13 types of thoughts in the first place. So how can you think, or what do you need to know to be able to do differently? The question is, you need to ask yourself, who are you? The question, who am I, speaks to identity, right? When you know who you are, your life will be much, much easier, right? And just like the religious folks, if you know whose you are, your life will be 10 times better than people who are following the crowd. Whose are you? If you are a child of God, you know that you don't need to insult your neighbor. You know that you don't need to do dubious things to be able to be successful, to be able to make impact in the world and change life in the world today. You know that you are going to be operating from a place of rest. Yes, we know there's something called peer pressure, and this is the determining factor of what the standard look like, right? The society has made it look as if the standard is being famous. The standard is having a lot of money in your account. The standard is getting married. These are the metrics that the society used to place people to a standard, right? And not just because society wants to place you to a standard for your own betterment. Society wants to place you in that standard for your own detriment, for you to like just follow the crowd mentality, the crowd mindset, and not actually grow. That's why you see a lot of people trying to struggle. They want to be like certain people, but they don't necessarily want to do what those people did. They don't want to put in the work, right? They don't want to put in the work. They just want to just wake up one day and be like them. And sometimes, because the lives of these people are very private, we don't know what these people have actually done to get to that point, but we just believe that that is the standard, that is the goal, right? And it even begins to affect us psychologically, it begins to affect our everyday lives. That when you see somebody post something on their WhatsApp status, that if you are not talking about money conversations, if you are not bringing deals, then we don't have anything to talk. That is a poor way to think. I believe that's a poor way to think. I believe human beings have this need for connection, this need for interaction, right? And money should not necessarily be the metrics for communication or the metrics for attention, right? But because we live in a world whereby everybody is so focused on making money, everybody is so focused on using money as the metric, that is why we are stuck. That is why we feel like the standard is just getting famous and just becoming wealthy, right? And every other thing doesn't matter. So we need to do better. We need to ask ourselves, what are we actually setting as the standard for ourselves, and who is actually setting the standard? When we are aware that society is setting the standard for us, we will do better. We will know that society don't like us. In fact, society has already programmed us unintentionally. Right from when we are little children, society have been programming us. Society have been making us to see lives in this way. And that is why we have social media today. Social media has even made it more worse. It has made it look as if everybody just need to press a button and they will become millionaires. It makes being a millionaire, even if we know that sometimes it might be very hard, very difficult to attain millionaires, to be a millionaire, people now see being a millionaire as something that they have to do urgently, something that they have to just do it anyhow, right? By all means. They don't even care if they step on your toes. They don't care if they hurt your feelings. They don't care. So long as they can make money and so long as they can be famous. Because why? Society has told them that the standard is being famous, right? When we begin to ask ourselves these questions, who am I? We will know that we are not meant to do certain things. We are not meant to go to certain heights for us to make money, for us to be wealthy, for us to even have good communications. And that is why, because of this standard, like I said earlier, society doesn't have anything good for you in mind. Because of these standards of making money, people no longer have or spend time with their families or with their partners. They just believe that that's the goal. You don't have common sense to think of building your character, to becoming good persons to your neighbor, because you feel money is the standard. Now you no longer learn those good attributes, those good character traits, because money is the standard. You don't even know how to communicate with people because money is the standard. If money is the standard, if fame is the standard, then we are doomed as a country, we are doomed as a nation, we are doomed as a people, right? So asking yourself, who am I? Whose am I? For those who are religious folks, the Christians, whose are you? Because if you belong to God and God is love, definitely you should love your neighbor. You should treat your neighbor as yourself. This question, whose are you, is very important. And when you begin to ask ourselves these questions like who sets the standard, who am I, whose am I, we are taking that step further to making our lives better. That is the beginning and that's the point whereby everything begins to make sense. If you don't ask yourself this question, nothing will make sense to you. It's an identity thing. So I hope this helps somebody out there to ask themselves, who are you, whose are you, and who sets the standard? Thank you very much.